All right. You ready?
Yep.
Hey everybody, this is Gary Moore from Journey More Often. We're having another Tipsy Tagalongs episode here with Evan from Old Stone Cider.
Yep.
This place is ridiculous. I used to actually, when I went back and forth to my day job at work, I used to see this place before it was transformed.
Yeah.
And so it was just the foundation basically, and at one point it had the building on it, and then the building fell, and then it just kept going, as far as, then you guys ended up with it.
Yeah. Well, so we bought it. There was a barn here. It was in the process of falling down.
Yes.
And we wound up disassembling it, and we saved about half of the timbers that are in. You can see right now.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, so you repurposed some of the timber. Oh, I can tell which ones
Yeah,
you did.
can see
Okay.
the hand-hewn ones.
Yep, the uprights are the ones,
Yep.
most of the ones that you kept.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we saved what we could and then rebuilt it and used, a lot of the wood, like the table in front of us. This is the old barn siding from the original barn.
Of course it is.
And, you'll see the flight paddles are some of the old barn. There's
Wow.
little odds and ends all over the place that we used when we were rebuilding it.
That's some pretty cool little practical details. Oh, before I get to get started with this, a little housekeeping going on. We haven't been with you guys for a little while because we've been doing some bourbon tasting and some pairing wine with Super Bowl food.
Ah.
And next month we'll be at Blondes and Brunettes.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're great.
So you feel free to join us there because
stop on by.
We'll be tasting with new. They've got a lot of different tastings that they have. This group here is looking like they're heading out the door. So the noise level's probably in the background is probably going to end a little bit. But all right. So what is it? I mean, now that we've talked about the barn and then you build the outbuilding back there too, right?
Yeah, that was about 3 years. I think it was during COVID. When COVID was happening, we needed to expand some of the production area that we had. So there was a building. There's a foundation left from a building. We took that down and then in its place built a new purpose-built production building where we had learned a lot from originally. So we rebuilt the barn that we're sitting in, and the lower part of it we used for production. We started to outgrow that, and when we rebuilt it, we didn't quite know what we were doing production-wise, to be honest.
Right.
This has been kind of a learning process as we've gone on. So the new building, it's more custom-built, purpose-built for making cider.
Right.
And it's much easier to do it in that building than in this building.
So that's all right. So all of that is part of the whole locally owned and operated business thing, which is why we got started a little late.
I apologize.
No, don't worry about that. So, but things happen. Locally owned and operated businesses. It's just you. Everybody depends on you. You're making all the decisions, and it's a really tough road sometimes. So you got to adjust. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to start with a customized production room to find out what you need
to learn
what you need to actually have a customized production room.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's all part of the whole growth pattern of locally owned and operated business. By the way, COVID, for as terrible as it was, did offer some benefits in that it gave you time to breathe and actually put that thing together,
reflect on what we should be doing.
So take advantage of the slow time. Hopefully you'll sell enough to keep it moving. Right. But by the way, this is a great place. It's like huge. I mean, this probably seats, I'd guess, about 70 people inside
about
here.
Right, yeah.
I may or may not have owned a restaurant before back in the 80s.
Got a good eye for it.
A long time ago. But there's like tons of room outside. There's a huge tree out there that people are sitting underneath. This is a beautiful day, which we probably should be outside, but we're not.
We can be outside after this.
We wanted to kind of show the inside and the action, and you don't get to see any of that when you're outside. You get to see, you could see the orchard, but you wouldn't be able to see this. So, all right, where do we start? You tell me.
You ready for the tasting?
Yeah, let's get this rolling.
So we're going to start with number 4. It'll be that side there.
Yep.
So I'll give you, to sort of preface this a little bit, we grow about 80% of the apples that we make into cider. There's 2 varieties that we buy from an orchard out near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
So he's one we've worked with for several years now. He's got quality apples.
Okay.
But everything else we grow, and we tend to grow types of apples that are specific for hard cider production. So that means that they tended to be bred either in England or during the colonial times in the U.S. A lot of the varieties are not commercially available. So if you want to have these types of apples, you have to grow them, or you have to be very closely working with someone who is growing them. But they're difficult.
You have to know somebody.
Exactly. So,
Period. You have to know somebody, period, in order to get them.
Yeah. So we grow about 20 different varieties of apples. Here on the property, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And the first one we're going to try is our Harrison cider, which is a single varietal cider, so it's just made from Harrison apples. And it's one of our drier ciders. We're going to start with 2 dry ciders and then go to 2 sweet ciders. So.
Okay. All right. So this got a good look to it, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. It's got that nice sort of golden yellow. So you get a lot of sort of citrusy tartness, kind of a green apple skin kind of flavor.
Yeah, it's very dry, which is good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. I like that.
Good, yeah.
Like that. Yeah, so, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we do specialize in this type of cider where it's tart, dry, traditional style ciders.
Okay, so is the Harrison cider, is that one of your staples that you offer all the time, or do you kind of move with the season scenario?
Yeah, we we harvest everything in the fall, obviously when you pick apples, and then we press everything and ferment it, and then it's a matter of that's actually a really good question. These types of flavors, sort of that green, fresh, grassy flavors, these tend to be most prevalent in the springtime, like after it's aged from the fall till the spring. These type of flavors hold up well till that point. After that, if you let this type of cider age longer, it tends to lose those flavors, and it develops different flavors. But I think the springtime, this is like a stereotypical is not the right word. What you would want in a springtime sort of cider.
Okay.
The next one we're going to try, if you're ready.
No, I'm not.
You want to keep going, Harrison?
No,
sure.
No.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this a little bit more because I don't think and I'm not versed on it, but I have some questions about how that works. So, do you have to harvest the apple at a specific time, and does the timing change it? In other words, if you waited 2 weeks, would it taste something different? Would it be any better, or would it be worse if you do it early or too early or too late kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah. So the way you can continue aging it, and different flavors will develop. So this specific flavor, though, if you age it too long, it'll disappear and you'll get something else, which I'm not off the top of my head. I can't say exactly what it would become. But then there's other ciders that are more dry and kind of rich, and those flavors develop later in the season, later in the aging process. So more in fall.
So when you
early
say
winter.
aging, it's still on the tree?
No, aging. So
aging is in
tanks, in fermentation.
Okay,
tanks,
and
or barrels.
You do use barrels.
We do have some.
That was
barrel
another
aged.
question altogether.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, let's focus on when you harvest them from the tree.
Sure.
Does that change?
So each variety ripens at a different time in the fall. So we start harvesting apples at the end of August.
Yeah.
And we go through the beginning of November. So, and what happens is, August, the third or fourth week in August, some of the first apples will ripen. Our Yarlington Mills apples will start ripening. Those are one of the earliest ones. Stoke Red is another early-ish apple.
Okay.
And then we'll harvest all those first. And then another week or two later, our Roxbury Russet apples will start becoming ripe. So we'll start harvesting those. The other thing we do, which is different from a lot of large commercial operations, everything is harvested by hand. We don't machine pick. But what that allows us to do is we'll go through, a row of trees that's one variety, and we'll just pick the ripe ones out of it. 4 or 5 days later, a week later, we'll go through that same row and pick those ripe apples.
Oh,
another week later, we'll go through again and pick the ripe apples.
That's a lot of work.
It is, but it gives you higher quality fruit.
Right?
That's the whole basis of
Oh,
cider. You need high quality fruit to get good cider.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah, we have a good crew, a good family.
But so your focus on the quality is top.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise you just pick them all and be done with it.
Exactly.
Just blend it all in.
Right.
And
that's
all
what,
as well.
And most large commercial producers.
I was going to say that.
They go through, they pick everything in a field, press it, and that's
the advantage of the locally owned and operated business is
exactly.
because you can actually drive that time of that you're going to pick those apples off of the trees.
Yes.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
now I'm guessing that weather has something to do with it as well.
Sure.
Because drier seasons you pick differently than wet seasons.
Exactly.
And weather. Sometimes the weather turns really quickly in the fall.
Yep.
It doesn't always, but sometimes it does. So that might rush some of them forward.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, you do. Weather is always. It's
So you always have to be paying attention.
It's farming, right? Weather always plays a role. But actually, that's interesting you brought that up. So weather can also play a role in the quality of the juice we get too. So what happens towards the end of as apples are ripening in the late summer into the fall, they're collecting solar energy and they're storing it in the fruit and they're trying to make it as sweet as they can, right? If we have a lot of cloudy, rainy, lousy kind of days, the sugar in the apple will be lower, which then correlates to lower alcohol percentages.
Yep.
So right now, the Harrison is a 9% cider. So we had a pretty good year when we picked it because it's pretty high sugar, which is pretty high alcohol.
Okay, so what year is it?
This is from this past year. So this is from 2023.
So it doesn't take too long to actually ferment and finish.
Correct. Yeah. Well, it's
cider.
So it takes
like red wine takes sometimes almost 2 years.
Yeah, we're not.
And you can leave it in a bottle even longer than that. But,
right.
But
yeah.
this is like next year you drink it.
Yep. I think that gives you the freshest flavors. You can barrel age it. We actually have there's one on tap that we didn't have here. Maybe we can try it later. But that's a barrel aged one that's from 2022. So that one's
that's when you barrel age. If you're going to keep it longer, you'll put it in the barrel and finish it.
Exactly.
Because I can imagine that might have its own little aspect to it.
It's got a nice sort of vanilla-y kind of that one was aged in red wine barrels, which give it a pretty nice tart, another tart dry one.
That's because that allowed a little bit of flavor. So it's a as they say. So if it's a red wine barrel, it's probably medium toast in the barrel, and then it's probably been used like 2 or 3 times for red wine.
Yep.
So then you've got that influence that's going to be really strong. So you're not going to get a strong oak influence as you will the wine that's been.
So it's interesting. So with wine, just a little background on the barrels. Again, going back to the local thing. There's a winery up the road, 1723 Winery.
Oh yeah, I know those people.
Yeah, we
Ben and Sarah.
Sure. Yeah, we bought some barrels from them a few years ago, and they were spent red wine barrels, so they couldn't use them anymore. But cider is a much more sort of delicate sort of alcohol, and so even though they couldn't use them for red wine, you still get nice oaky mellowness from coming.
So
through
it draws it right on through.
Yeah.
Whatever the red wine has.
You get a little bit of color from the red wine, and you get a little bit of tannins, but not a ton.
Well, it's not going to turn it red.
No, it does. It does change it a little bit.
So it'll get a little bit brownish.
A little, kind of pinkish.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Oh, all right. So there we go. We got our and wow, this is good. Actually, I really do like it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And it's one of those that. All these wines, I'm sure you could drink on a hot day.
Yes, yeah. One of my favorite ways to drink pretty much all of them is over ice, which is something in Europe they do it a little bit more, but I think
Do they?
Yeah.
Because they don't like ice in Europe for the most
don't.
part. You ask for ice and water, and they're like.
Yeah. But on a hot day, a little bit of ice with the cider, I think it keeps it nice and cold, and you get it keeps it really nice and fresh.
Just enough to do that. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, now let's move on to the next one. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, it was a long digression there.
And save a little bit. Oh, you didn't. Well, sorry, because I was thinking when we go in. By the way, we actually I went outside. They have a food truck out here today. They have the PA boys.
PA barbecue boys. Yeah.
PA barbecue boys. And so I said, "Hey, do you mind if we give you a shout out on the podcast?" And they were like, "No, yeah. In fact, have some food." And I'm like, "Well, wait, I didn't ask for the food, but thank you very much." So they did. They gave us some food. We'll be tasting that. We'll probably taste it with the cider, and maybe we'll talk which cider tastes best with which food.
Sure, yeah.
Because they gave us Mac bowl and 2 Mac bowls.
Brisket and pulled pork. It looks like.
And both of them are Mac bowls.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's actually pretty good. I've heard a lot of good stuff about them, but I've never actually tasted their food.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now let's let's roll on to the next one. Number
right.
3.
Number 3 is our Wixon crab apple. So, as the name implies, it is 100% crab apples, and Wixon crab apple, to be specific. This is also one of the highest ABVs we've ever had. This is a 10% cider, so we're almost into wine category.
That's crazy if you think about it. I mean, 10%.
Hey
there.
So it's very full bodied. Has a nice like fruity dry finish to it. Again, this is another dry one. This
Must have been another good year. Same year.
Yep. This was from 22.
Oh, okay. 2 good years in a row.
Yeah, that's right. So
Nice. All right.
sample a
So
bit?
yeah, let's talk about it.
So if you smell, it's got a nice fruity smell.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Completely different taste.
Completely different. Yeah, and that's
Still good, but completely different.
That's the importance of the different cider apple varieties. I always come back to this when I'm talking cider. These apples were made for hard cider production. They weren't made for eating. They weren't made for making applesauce. They weren't made for
Right?
pressing sweet juice.
Everybody's like, "Where's my Macintosh cider?"
and the thing with those apples, so those
It's like-
eating apples, we get a lot of people like, oh, Granny Smith or Red Delicious or whatever, and it's like those apples were made for shelf
Yeah.
life, to have like a nice crunch when you bite them, for storage, all that kind of stuff. They weren't made. The apples we grow have more tannins and acidity, and those are the things that come through after fermentation.
Exactly.
So if you ate one of these apples off a tree, the crab apple.
Crab apple. I've eaten crab
They're
apples
not great eating apples.
No,
They're also about the size of golf balls, so
Yeah,
they're picking them is a little bit of a
No, they can be very sour, as a
They
matter
can,
of fact.
yeah.
You could
Yeah.
make a sour cider out of some of those.
right. But they do have a high sugar content, which gives it the high alcohol content. But they tend to be bitter when you eat them. But you get very unique flavors from this kind of thing.
It's almost in its, not in its flavor per se, but in how you drink it. It's almost beer-like.
A little bit, yeah. Cider is always it's a fairly underrepresented category, I think, in alcohol.
Which is why we're here.
Right, yeah. But I think it has that perfect middle ground between beer and wine, right? You make it like wine, you harvest a fresh fruit, you ferment it, you can age it, but then it's consumed more like beer, right?
Right.
It's off a tap, a lot of times it's carbonated, not necessarily. And you can, if they're low enough ABV, you can drink a pint or two of it,
Yeah.
It's a very approachable from that aspect. So you don't have to be an expert or anything.
These first two had a very high ABV.
Yes.
I'm very, very glad that we only filled them up.
When I started
halfway.
pouring them, I was on autopilot, just filling them all the way up. And Gary was like, maybe let's dial it back a little
maybe
bit.
maybe not. I got to drive home. I only got 5 miles, but I got to drive home. It's like crazy. But and you can't taste the alcohol either.
No,
it's not like you're drinking, some like an old fashioned or something.
Right,
where
yeah.
They load it up and you can taste it. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, very, very, very full body cider. I really enjoyed the Wixon crab apple. That's
I'm
a
coming
perennial
back
favorite.
to that one. Yeah, that's a real. Yeah, I like that because the flavor profile is way different than a lot of ciders that you drink.
Right. Yeah. A lot of commercially available ciders, and I'm not going to name names, but I think
No need. We've been there.
I think we all know who I'm talking about. They tend to be very sweet and light, and and that's fine if you want to drink that kind of thing. That there's no.
So that's
no
the whole
shame in
point,
that.
right, of a tasting.
Right. Yeah. But if you want to have something a little more complex, a little more body, varietal ciders might be more the direction you want to look in.
Yeah. So and whatever you gravitate to. So while there is a such thing as a bad cider or bad wine or a bad most of the time it's spoiled and it's no good anymore. But just because you like sweet and it's dry doesn't mean the dry one's not good.
Right.
Just because you like dry and it's sweet doesn't mean the sweet one's no good. I mean, it's whatever your flavor preference is what's good for you.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we're a really strong proponent about do a tasting. Find out what you like and what you don't like. Because if you don't like something, don't ask for it for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to be drinking, drink something you like, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and drink responsibly.
Yes, of course.
I didn't get that in at
Absolutely.
the very beginning because we always promote drinking responsibly.
Yes.
If you're gonna celebrate something, make sure you have a DD or an Uber already
Sure.
planned. But
Yeah.
but or Lyft. I'm not like, somebody get somebody else to drive your tush home and make sure you stay safe along with everybody in your party.
Absolutely.
Because there's no excuse for it in today's world. There's so many options.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of options. Yeah.
So anyway, there's like a little liability statement for the both of us, because, and if we had these, I would have probably called up my wife and said, hey, I'm going to be here a little longer drinking water until I sober up a bit.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, since it is hard to taste the alcohol in some of them,
right? You could just go.
It's not hard to have few and then feel, man, that was.
And on a hot day, you could pound 3 before you even notice.
Absolutely.
And then you'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, you're really you'd be feeling it.
Yeah, and so you don't want to do that, but you want to enjoy it still. I mean, that's the whole point, right? You want to enjoy it. So that's why we're talking about how that works, and so be cognizant of the ABV.
Yes.
But also drink what you want. So what do you think? You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's give this one a try. So this is our springtime strawberry.
Okay.
So this would be a little more forget what I was just saying about macro ciders. This one is more similar to those. There's a little more complexity. This one was actually a barrel aged cider that we then back sweetened a little bit and added some strawberry to. So you're gonna get a little. This one's gonna be more sweet and has a little pop of strawberry to it.
Okay,
it's
so
nothing to. Let's see, guys. Nothing to this. This is going to happen all day. I can tell.
Probably all day. Yeah. So if the breeze wasn't coming through from the window, which is feeling pretty good, I don't know about you, but because it's pretty warm in here, just because it's a nice day.
It is,
First nice day, probably why the parking lot's almost full.
That's right. Yeah.
But if I didn't have a breeze to take away what I'm smelling, what would I be? What would I be focusing on?
So you get a little strawberry. This one doesn't have a really strong nose. I wouldn't say.
No, but I can. Like if you stick your nose in there, you can get a hint of that strawberry.
Yeah. So a little sweeter, more strawberry flavor. This one has been. I always like to have a variety of ciders on tap. So there's always, drier options, more tart options. This would be one of. I always like to have a fruited option. So we go through.
Oh yeah.
This is strawberry. We're going to have a blueberry one later in the season. We're going to have a cherry one later in the season.
Of course, yeah. So you follow the seasons with that?
We follow the seasons with that.
So you put fresher fruit?
So
you try and focus on that if you can, I'm sure.
I've done it with fresh fruit before, and you get variable results. So we actually we use purees, which I don't know if that's shameful or not, but I found it gives you more consistency.
Yeah, sometimes
and there's some that we make where we do every year. There's a fall spice one that we make where we simmer all the spices, cook everything.
Right.
And I've just found it's really hard to be consistent with it.
Okay, so
I like using some purees for that kind of thing.
All right, well, I can. That explanation is good because the consistency is what you really, really want.
Yeah.
And considering that 90+% is the feature is the actual apple.
Right.
There's no walk of shame here. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I appreciate it's a good thing. Because you have to have the consistency because and here's what's crazy about locally owned and operated businesses. If you don't maintain a consistency, people leave.
Yes.
And so, if you have that, that one cider that you're offering and it's not consistent, they like it one year, they don't like it the next, they're not coming back the following.
Yep.
And so you got to maintain that consistency. So I'm okay with that. I get it because if and that's the whole thing about trial and error, right?
Yes. We've done it. We've done them
a lot of
using
trial
fresh
and error,
fruit and they taste good, but they're not the same back to back.
And sometimes they're not as flavorful.
Right.
With the fresh fruit.
Right. Yeah. You have to use more of it, and you have to, do, process it in certain ways. So we also, part of it. This is, behind the scenes a little bit. A batch size for us is only like 7 or 8 half kegs, which is not a huge production thing. So we're doing that every week, and so we go through it. Certain varieties like this one, we go through. We'll go through a batch of it in like 3 weeks. So we have to. you're making multiple batches every year or every few months,
Right.
and that consistency is important. So that's why we do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you are doing it over and over and over again. So it's not like one big
Yes,
batch.
exactly. It's
Where it
not-
all just kind of melts together, and you're like, okay, we're good to go.
Right, and then you bottle it all, and
Yeah.
it sits on a shelf for 6 months.
And then next year you do it all over again.
Right.
If you're doing that, like you're saying, like you're doing batches on a rotating basis, it's critical that you maintain the consistency.
Right.
I get you. All right. So now we talked about, one of the things you said is you like to keep so many on the board.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about what's on the board right now.
Sure.
I know we've got these 4 on the board, but there's, I don't know. I think you can see the board behind us, or at least part of the board.
Part of it, yeah.
Oh wait, there's people. Oh, good. We have a line, which is always good at a place like this, right? To have a line, and so people are patiently waiting. I don't see anybody who's upset or anything like that. Because they're not getting served quick enough.
It usually moves pretty quickly.
It does. I have seen the line move pretty fast.
Yep.
Before we started.
The 2 bartenders that are up there, one is my wife and one is my brother-in-law, and then after this, I'm going to be up there too. So we try to, we keep it moving.
Again, locally owned and operated business, you do everything.
That's right.
You do the podcast and you do the serving part of it. So I'm actually holding this
No.
from making that line shorter.
But to hit back on what's on tap. So we always have at least 7 ciders on tap, and then we usually have one like a warm mulled cider or some some special sort of drink. Sometimes we have slushies, that kind of thing. Well, I should say all summer we have slushies, which are very popular.
Okay.
But right now we have the Oaked Gold Rush, which we mentioned earlier. That's the oak aged one. We also have our Yarlington Stoke Red, which is a blend of 2 varietal apples, which is a really nice, very like bone dry cider. That one's a really good one.
Okay.
And then our Shandy, which is also a perennial one. That's one where we take one of our ciders and add some lemonade to it. That's another one we always serve it over ice. Nice, refreshing summer drink.
Wow.
And it also lowers the ABV a little bit, so you can have 2 or 3 of them more responsibly than than some of the full strength ciders.
That's good. Yeah.
So, but we always have, and it's a rotating list. So we age them. We pick the apples, we age them, and then throughout the year we keg different varieties.
Okay.
So what we have on tap now, in another month there will probably be 1 or 2 different ones on there. A month later there'll be 1 or 2 different ones on there.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So
because as much as people like consistency, they also like variety.
Right. Yeah. And
so you got to do both.
Yes.
While doing both.
There are a couple. There's our Roxbury Russet cider, which is not on yet, but probably in another 2 or 3 weeks we'll have that on, and our Enterprise cider. Those will be like our flagship ciders. Those are on year round almost, except for right now. but those will be finishing up aging soon, and then we'll have them on tap.
But when you sell out, you sell out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing because then it's not available. But on the other hand, it's a good thing because it was popular and people like to partake in that particular blend of cider. So all right. So did I hear the coffee one?
An Irish coffee?
Is that just Irish coffee?
That's just regular. It's St. Patrick's Day.
It's
almost St. Patrick's Day.
So tomorrow. Okay, so the coffee is something
that's just
else.
Okay. That's altogether.
Okay, so because the coffee was on the cider board. I just thought, well, maybe they did.
We have done a coffee cider in the past.
I mean, I've heard of worse combinations, And by the way, that actually might be pretty good.
Yeah, the version we did was met with very mixed reviews. That was not. It was an experiment. It's an experiment. You try new things.
I feel like if you tweak it, you could probably, hone it in kind of thing.
One of our regulars brought one in that was pretty good. It was a coffee cider. It was on the sweeter side. But it was pretty nice. I think it was Bold Rock made it, but that was a pretty good one that we had. So you can do it. There's a way to do it. Tom, he helps me in the cellar quite a bit. He also bartends some. He experiments with cold brew cider coffee, which has also been met with mixed reviews. But
that's kind of
But we're always trying some different things.
Cold brew cider coffee.
Sampling some trying different things. You know,
Well, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, because you might discover that one thing that no one can live without.
right? Yeah, yeah. That's how you find it, right? You
And
know?
then suddenly you're on the map.
That's right. You're selling coffee cider.
Here, and this is Louisville, right?
Louisville, yeah.
Louisville, like right at the Maryland line.
Yeah.
We could throw a stone to the Maryland
Yes,
line from
yep.
here. I mean, literally throw a stone.
There's only about 3 stop signs in Louisville, so if you haven't heard of it,
That's like crazy that there's that many. To be honest with you,
you didn't see the 3 stop signs.
I've lived
coming
in this
through?
area for quite some time, and like there were no stop signs.
Yeah, that's
At
right.
one
That's
point,
right. They didn't-
thankfully there are some, and and then there's the sign at the end of that one intersection where it says for the 18-wheelers not to make a right-hand turn.
Don't turn. Don't go this way.
Because I think that fence has been wiped out.
That's right. Yeah.
Like several times.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
they're like, oh, I missed my turn.
That's
and,
right.
You know,
Turned a little too tight.
yeah, no, not good. Anyway, so but we're in Louisville, and it's actually on a fairly well-traveled road, which is kind of fun because a lot of places are off the beaten trail, and you might have a little trouble finding it.
Yeah.
But here, it's like boom.
The barn's about 6 feet off the road.
Boom. Like literally, yeah. So if you're coming from Maryland, you're coming up Route 213 in Maryland, which turns into 841 in Pennsylvania. And if you're coming from Pennsylvania, it's just 841 straight here.
Yep. And a lot of people go by, they go down to the Chesapeake. So for years and years and years, people come and they're like, oh, I drive by here all the time.
Right?
I'm going down to my boat or whatever down on the Elk River, and then they stop in one day and they have a great time. So it definitely helps to be visible.
It is. No, most definitely for that. That gives you. I feel like that gives you the extra foot traffic is probably a good 15 to 20% more based on just like you got the big sign on the barn right there.
Yeah.
Right outside the door, really close to the road, readable from the road.
Yeah.
So, it's like, ooh, Old Stone Cider. I'll have to go there someday. And then someday you do go
and
there.
And
right?
people stop by. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So
The sign, there's another quick tangent. The sign's a funny one, too. So that my wife painted that. That's a hand-painted sign. And we were open for about...
looks nice, by the way.
Yeah,
I love it.
She did a great job. It took us about 3 years to put a sign on the building. So we were open for 3 years before we actually had a sign on the building.
I wasn't going to say anything.
This is the incredibly slow growth model. Where
Again, locally owned and operated. You get to it when you get
That's
to
right.
it.
We'll get around
right?
to go sign one of these days.
But no, the sign looks great out there.
Yeah.
I even took a picture of it because I don't know if you saw our sign out there.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, I
yeah,
didn't know
we have one of those flag signs that blows with the wind kind of thing.
I need to get some of those.
Yeah,
one of these days.
Oh yeah. So it's like I got it out there so you can see us and you together
cool.
as you're coming down.
I'll have to grab a picture of that.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And that way, we do that so that if somebody's looking for, like I talked to somebody on Friday and they were like, wait, you're going to do what? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have a Tipsy Tagalong broadcast. I'm like, just look for the sign. Because I knew at this place I could put it out so you could see it from the road.
Sure, yeah.
And you can see it in both directions, although coming from the north, it's a little harder to...
Yeah.
You're flying by the barn, but it is past the barn, so it's good. It's good to go on that. Yeah. All right, let's see. What else? All right, so let's move on. Let's move on, yeah.
All right, so the final cider here is our King David cider.
Is this the final cider?
The final cider. Well, we could always have some other ones.
That barrel-aged one that you talked about earlier sounds...
We could get some of that.
Pretty delicious. And then we got to try the food. We got to try the food.
Yeah. So the King David cider, again.
King David.
Single varietal cider. King David is the name of the apple.
How many varietals are there of apples? I mean,
there's thousands.
Yeah,
there's thousands.
I mean, same thing with like grapes. It's like people are like, oh no, there's just a Merlot grape and a Sauvignon Blanc grape and
a Chardonnay.
And a Chardonnay. Chardonnay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's thousands of types of apples, and they all have specific, niches that they fill. Right. So, the King David cider is going to be, again, a little sweeter. Has a more
really light.
Yeah, very light. Has sort of a floral kind of flavor going on. Sort of flower.
It's not too sweet though.
Yeah, I always say sweet, and it's hard to.
It's kind of a dry sweet, to be honest with you.
I feel like our scale is skewed because we drink the stuff that's like bone dry. And
Yeah.
like, well, that's dry, so then sweet must be this. But it's all it's all a relative thing, right?
Yeah.
It's relative to what else we've been
And
trying.
sometimes it's based on classification, not on taste.
Right. Yeah.
So it is, I could see how it would be classified as a sweet sweet cider. Sorry about that. But it's not like really sweet at all.
No, it's not like a dessert wine or anything like that. But yeah, we do run into that a little bit sometimes, where people will come in and they'll say, hey, I really like a dry cider, because all they've had are macro brand dry, air quote, cider. And when they try our stuff, they're like, well, this doesn't taste anything like what I thought a dry cider tasted like, So they find something they enjoy.
Yeah.
But you have to shift that, your own preference, or not preference, but you have to shift your own scope for what you think is sweet or dry.
Yeah.
And they're all relative to each other.
So your mentality means a lot here, because if you're looking for a commercial cider, you're not going to find it.
Yes, yeah.
And these are actually better. I mean, I've had commercial cider. I've had these. I've had other ciders, but these are better, way better than commercial ciders.
Thank you.
And some of that's the the amount of effort and time that you put into it.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, he's out there picking the the apples. He's in here serving people later after we finish.
Yeah.
But he's also in there tinkering with the different flavor profiles and making them as consistent as possible.
Right. Keep
So
an eye on it.
he's doing all of that, but you're looking at it. That's a lot of focus. So and if you want to have something as good as this, you have to have the focus.
Right. It takes the time, and I appreciate the effort you put into my part. I put a lot of the good flavor into the apples. Growing those right types of apples and harvesting them at the right time.
Right.
I think that's really the secret to it, and that's what sets the ciders apart. I can't take all the credit. My parents are also part of the business.
Yeah.
My mom she takes care of a lot of the orchard work, and so it's a family effort. I mentioned my wife and my brother-in-law.
That's probably her therapy, is to go out.
She gets to be out in the orchard by herself. Yeah, that's right.
It may be her therapy.
Her and the dog.
It would be for me. I can tell you that.
Hanging out
Be
in
like,
the orchard.
Get away from me!
Right.
I'm trimming the apples.
Pruning apple trees.
Pruning them.
Yep.
Yeah. Stay. I'll talk to you in an hour.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so I could see that, to be honest with you. I could see how, I know people who they love to mow the lawn because that's their therapy.
Sure, yeah.
But I could see how pruning those trees, know, it's just,
very peaceful.
It is, right? So that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. All right, so we've got more than, so it's a family.
It's a family business. Yeah, I don't want it to come across that I'm doing absolutely everything.
No, but it's like, okay, the family does all of those.
Yeah.
All of those tasks.
And to sort of run a business of this scale, you need people who you can trust and rely on, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we all, within the family, I think one of the things I'm pretty proud of from the business aspect of it is we all have our own separate niches, and we all stick to those. And I don't go out in the field and tell my mom how to prune trees, and she doesn't come in here and tell me how to pour a pint, right? And but it works. That works really well, having those separate jobs.
Yeah,
that helps a lot.
The fact that you're still alive is testimony that you haven't gone out there to tell your mom how to prune those trees, because I might be talking to your dad right now.
Yeah, no,
or your wife.
That's right. Yeah.
I could be talking to somebody else completely, or I could be hearing the story directly from your mom about how you met an untimely demise.
That's right. Yeah. So it is truly a family operation, and having that separate jobs is incredibly important, I think.
So you mentioned something that I think I'd like to talk about for just a second. So you've got this formula kind of thing that you do to do the Harrison and the King David and the different ciders. We've all taken a recipe off the web, made it,
Yeah.
and it sucked.
That's right. Yep.
So we've all done that, so so you could give a recipe to anyone,
Sure. Yeah.
and you could follow the recipe, and it still sucks.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen. I've done it myself. I don't do a lot of recipes. My wife cooks some incredible meals, and I've tried to cook some stuff, and I'm good at some stuff, but not other stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you have a recipe for the King David, right? No, wait, is that the King
That one's
David?
King David, yeah.
Oh, I got it right. So if you have the recipe for that, and you're not following, what you figured out works the best.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, you go on autopilot,
Right, yeah.
your 8th, 9th, 10th years.
Yeah.
Then, boom, you know what it's going. You
know what to expect.
You're not really thinking about it. It's all just okay. I'm just making not making the motions, but I'm an autopilot.
You learn how to
making
do.
this
Yeah.
work.
You get comfortable doing it. And you learn how to do it. For sure.
And so that's the cool thing. Speaking of which, how long have you guys been in business again? I know you mentioned it earlier.
8 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I got it. 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Whatever. It's close enough. Yeah. We when we did initially start though, we would only be open for about 3 or 4 months. We would sell everything we have, and then we would close down for the rest of the year.
I think you were. Are you only open for the weekends? Still?
We're Thursday through Sunday.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but I think originally you were Saturday, Sunday.
Originally we were just 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And that was because I had a full-time job still and then was doing it on the weekend.
Yeah, right.
And then, eventually, so that went on for about 6 years. And then 2-ish years ago, I started doing this full-time. So, but it took that long to get to this point with all the support, the family support and everything.
Right.
It's I didn't quit the day job immediately. I was still doing that for a long time.
So you did quit the day job.
I did.
And
Yes.
This is your full.
This is now my
that's
2 years.
cool.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty exciting.
Realize the dream kind
Yes,
of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes you got to balance both, right?
Yeah.
You got to balance both
Yeah, you do.
until it gets to the level where you can actually make that happen.
Right.
I mean, and it looks. I mean, you're getting a lot of traffic here, so
Yeah.
it does look like you're getting a pretty good scenario. And you're open all year round now, or just the season?
So this year we opened up March 1st, and then we're open through the rest of the year. We were closed January, February. We probably will still be closed part of the winter. It honestly, we have a gravel parking lot. If it ever snows, it's a disaster. You get 4 people in the door in a day, So.
And no offense, it's hard to sell cider in the winter.
It is.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just is.
I think the whole restaurant industry is a little bit that way, right? I mean, people when it's cold and dark, people don't really want to go out as much. So
We could talk about
Some
restaurants
people,
all day long. But we'll go to different places all the time. So.
Yeah.
And we like to write up different restaurants and stuff like that. We have our favorites, but speaking of which, why don't we dig in? So
crack open these.
My suggestion would be we each take a lid.
Okay.
And then we eat off the lid.
Sure.
And so we before we get started, we'll each take some from each container.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
And we'll use the spoons to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think this, the PA Barbecue Boys has a. Oh, look at. Oh.
So I guess the mac and cheese is buried underneath.
Oh, yeah. All right. So we'll eat. We'll each. I don't even know how to do this. So take a little bit of the mac and cheese there, and then when I'm done, I'll hand it to you. Oh, this looks good. This is ridiculous. All right, so there. This is. Oh, what did I have? What did you have?
Oh, it's under the lid. I had the pulled pork.
You have the pulled pork.
I
can tell. I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
There you go. So this is another. We don't have a kitchen or anything. We just run the bar, and so I work with about a dozen different food trucks to be out here, and there's a food truck every day we're open. And
really?
Yep.
Even Thursdays.
Thursdays, yep.
Wow.
Every day we're open.
Okay.
And it takes a while to find good food trucks to work with, and once you do, you want to hold on to them. I mean, it's great to have reliable people who will be there when you need them to.
All right, so I'm going to go in. I'm going to take the pulled pork first. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's really good. Okay, I'm gonna do a taste here.
Gotta get some of the brisket.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna throw this one. Which one is this? Is number 3?
Wixon.
Wixon, that's right.
Yeah. Wixon crab apple.
Okay. So you add the smokiness to the pulled pork, and it goes really well with the cider.
Yeah. Yeah, the Wixon is the kind of cider that can sort of stand up to that sort of,
Nice.
protein barbecue sort of thing.
And these guys, they're pabarbecueboys.com, I think.
Yeah, I think if you just Google PA Barbecue Boys,
Yeah, it's going to
it'll
come right up. I'm pretty sure.
And I believe, hopefully I'm not spoiling any announcements or anything, I think he's opening a restaurant up in Oxford.
Really?
I think he's there's the old Varsity Grill. I believe he's going to be opening up.
He's going in there.
Yeah. I don't know, this summer maybe. But he's got that. I think he's going to continue running the food truck too.
So we just, I'll tell you what, a couple of weeks ago, we went to this place. Our son told us this is a really good place to go. Gazzo Steaks, okay? Now, they live up in the Pottstown area, and Gazzo Steaks, it's a food truck.
Yeah.
So my wife shows up at this food truck, and the guy goes, now she shows up at like 4 in the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, sorry. She called at 4 in the afternoon, and they go, we've sold out for the day.
Yeah.
Right? This is a Friday.
Yeah, on a Friday. Yeah.
And we're like, what? And so we're like, okay. So she goes, so we end up going by there, like actually going by. We stop in, and the guy goes, yeah, we sold out. He told us again, but he didn't know that he'd already talked to us.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, we sold out for the day, blah, blah, blah. And my wife was like, is there anything we can do, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you can buy it now. He goes, and then just pick it up tomorrow.
Oh, like pre-order it, essentially.
And we're like, we're in.
Yeah.
Right? So we did that.
Yeah.
We bought it, Friday night, and he goes, it works for us because
yeah,
if you don't pick it up, we still get your
they'll
money.
sell it. Yeah. They'll double sell it.
Which is, but we ended up getting there. And I will tell you, I do love a good cheesesteak.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
But a lot of cheesesteaks, I'll add some condiments to it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I thought, there's been a lot of bragging about this cheesesteak.
Yeah.
And I dive into it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm not adding anything to this.
Yeah, it's perfect on its own.
This is like perfect, like the cheese, the steak, not like no gristle, no fat.
Nice.
It just was chewy and it melted in your mouth kind of thing. I mean, it was ridiculously commercial-like.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect commercial.
Yeah.
It melts in my mouth.
Yeah.
But, and Gazzo Steaks, and what jogged my memory is that they're opening up a storefront.
Okay, yeah.
Because they had a line that had like 100 people in it.
Sure, yeah.
Like there was no parking in the area.
Yeah.
You couldn't find you had to walk a good 5 minutes just to get in line.
Yeah. If you're doing something good, I mean, and a lot of the food trucks too, I know.
Yeah, so
again,
this is good.
Having worked with them for a while, a lot of them want to, I'll say they want to settle down, right? It's tough. It's tough making food on a food truck. It's a lot.
That's really hard.
It's extremely variable. I mean, if it rains, no one comes out. It's hard to.
But if you're at a storefront,
yeah. But if you're at a storefront,
people show up.
Yeah, right.
It's like, wait.
Yeah, a lot of them want to.
Because I have a place that I can run my card.
Right.
With a roof.
I can sit down inside a building and eat this. So a lot of the trucks do want to do that.
Ooh,
so.
This one.
The strawberry?
The what do you call it? The other one, the
brisket, or the
brisket
pulled pork?
goes with the strawberry really well.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun combo right there. So yeah, and it's interesting because we don't promote. No, I mean it's not our purpose to promote food trucks, but we've seen a few.
Sure.
And in the last I would say decade. They were, a decade ago, they weren't bad.
Right, yeah.
But they've really upped their game.
I agree.
It's like, Chef Ramsay could do one just with food truck, chefs.
The other cool thing is I think in major cities, food trucks were more of a thing.
Yeah.
Typically,
That's true.
You go into Philly, you go to LA, you go to New York, whatever, food trucks were more of a thing.
Yeah.
Now, they're here. There's enough food trucks here that I have a dozen different food trucks that come out to our place, every week. Like they're all over the place. A lot of them do really, really good food.
And you're drawing a crowd, though. That does help them.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's a mutually, absolutely, yeah,
definitely.
Hey, if we didn't have food here today, there wouldn't be as many people here today. I mean, it's as simple as that. And then
so they do like that. People do like the availability for sure.
Yeah, so it works out well for both.
We
of
do
us.
that all the time. My wife and I, when we're going somewhere, we'll order the food truck food.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure, and it's and again, in the last 10 years, it's gone like the level and the quality of the food has gone like it's really funny because when we were in Portland, our son takes us out to it's a food truck block
Sure. Yeah.
in Portland.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a block of food trucks.
And they're all parked in the same
They're
area.
all
yeah.
next to each other.
Yeah.
They're all they're stacked. They're
Yeah.
in between. There's aisles to, and then they have the area like the picnic table area
In the
where
middle,
you can eat.
yeah.
And but I mean, there's like if you wanted Mongolian stir fry,
Yeah.
if you want Italian, if you want standard burger, if
Sure.
you want pizza, if you want Chinese, if you want Thai,
They
if you
got
want-
it all.
They've
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
All. It's crazy, and and then they have obviously they have. Stuff for carnivores and stuff for
Sure.
vegetarians and stuff for
yeah.
vegans.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have like everything, and you're just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Plus, then they have the beer guys.
Right.
And
yeah.
they have like 20 different kinds of beer that you.
Yeah,
can
well, Portland
buy.
is pretty well known for that.
Well, maybe. Yeah. Speaking of which, you do support local.
We do,
Right?
yes.
Local. No, we don't have to talk about them unless you want to talk about them.
Sure.
But they're available.
Yeah,
here.
we always have 5 beers on tap, and it's a rotating list of different breweries. But I always have a lighter beer, an IPA, a stout,
the mix.
the mix, right? So
yeah.
so again, if you don't like cider necessarily, that's fine. You can come out, you can get a beer, and it'll always be a Pennsylvania made beer. A lot
That's
of
a
time,
pseudo requirement, I think.
It is an actual requirement, yeah. The way our license works, it has to be made in Pennsylvania.
And we've talked about liquor
Yeah.
licenses in Pennsylvania, and they are really specific.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great rule, though. It really
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I think it helps highlight
Yeah.
different breweries in Pennsylvania
Yeah.
that might not get highlighted as much. And it's I don't have any issue with
It's
regulation.
cross-pollination, if you will.
In case anyone from the Liquor Control Board's listening, no issue with legislation. No. But we do a lot of times. What we'll do. So right now on tap, it's we have some Trogs and Levante and who else? Lancaster Brewing Company and stuff like that. But we will periodically do with local breweries tap takeovers where all of our beers on tap will be from. Braylock Brewery in Kennett, or Blondes and Brunettes, or Gunpowder Falls, or whoever. It'll be. We try to highlight sort of one specific brewery, and have a keg of each of their beers, and then that way people can try them, and if they like those, they can go up the road and go get some of those.
Okay,
too.
so likewise, you guys are highlighted at other places? I'm
There's
assuming.
a few places.
Yeah.
We're up at Blondes and Brunettes right now. not to keep saying them over and over again, but I do
we'll
like
be
them.
there on April 6th
Yeah.
doing a Tipsy Tagalongs. But that's crazy. No, that wasn't planned, by the way.
Right.
We just started talking about local breweries,
Yeah.
and Blondes and Brunettes came up. And I do remember them having a cider. I just couldn't remember whether it was Old Stone Cider or not.
I distribute out to a few places. There's one or two wineries. We also have a second location up inside of Hood's Barbecue up near Unionville.
No way,
Yeah.
in Hoods.
Yep. So we've been up there for about 3
Wait,
years
they have
now.
a liquor license?
Well, it's our license. So we again
You got to
not
extend
not
your license.
Not to do the deep dive into the Pennsylvania Liquor Control
No, we've
Board.
talked about that on
But
this Tipsy Tagalongs before, yeah.
We can have up to 5 satellite licenses. So that's one of our satellite licenses.
So if you're doing festivals
So it's more.
but you got to get special permission for festivals, right?
That's actually a different thing. So the
Or
satellite
like the not the farmer's market.
That's a different license too. Not to keep naming licenses, but
You're not surprising me. I mean,
but-
they're very specific.
but the satellite location is a year round location you can have to sell your product from.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and
that you can do that.
So they used to bring their food truck down here, and so we had a relationship ahead of time.
Yeah.
And they renovated their restaurant.
They have good barbecue.
They have great barbecue. Yeah.
So,
and when they were renovating, they talked to us and were like, "Hey, do you want to have one of your satellites?" That way, it's the same relationship we have with the food trucks, right?
Right.
Hoods they have great barbecue, they have great food, and then they have alcohol served, and we benefit from that, and they benefit from us, and it works
That's
out really
pretty
well.
cool, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so hadn't thought about that part of it, that you actually could do the satellite thing, which is very convenient, and it is helpful,
yeah.
right? It's very helpful because,
Yes.
and you don't want to go too far beyond your area.
Yeah,
Well,
they're about a half hour from here, so I think it's the right distance where it attracts new people who haven't heard of us before, and it's still not too far away that it's not onerous to like restock and stuff like that, right? It's,
Right.
It's half hour away.
Yeah.
So we also have not to keep naming places. Hangry Bear Creamery up in Kennett. We just
There.
finished our license. They just opened a few months ago, and they're using one of our other satellite licenses.
So that's the good part about you being a cidery kind of thing. Cidery, right?
Yep,
That was the
cidery.
right thing, yeah. That's a good part about being that because, okay, so there's breweries and there's wineries and distilleries, but there's not as many cideries. So to get your product in somewhere else fortunately isn't as much of a leap as it is, if you're a winery. There's a lot of pretty good wineries around here. So to get your product into some other location, it's going to take a little bit. It's harder marketing.
Sure.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So it's ever so slightly easier.
Yes. Yeah.
It's still hard.
We definitely benefit from being a unique product.
And
right?
it does require the relationship. I mean, a lot of
it's all relationship.
The back and forth is the relationship based, like with hoods and blondes and brunettes and that. It's all relationship
and all the
based.
food trucks. It is all relationships. I mean, that is such an important thing that I can't stress enough. It's one of the reasons we have been successful is because of the relationships we've made with these other places.
And that's one of the things my wife and I do is whenever we go somewhere for Journey More Often, we try and know who the owner is, and just have a conversation if they're available.
Sure,
some are, some aren't.
Right. Yeah.
And we want to know how we can help because that our business, Journey More Often is basically promoting.
Sure, local business.
Like literally everyone else.
Yeah.
So, when we come here, we're promoting you, and we enjoy that, by the way, because we want to make the local people know who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, that's a wonderful mission.
But it has a benefit to us. People look at the website and whatever, blah blah blah. But it also the biggest benefit, honestly, isn't for us. And it's not like we're looking for kudos on that. But it's it is to highlight that there's so many good things.
Yes.
That you can experience that don't cost a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You can show up here, you can have some food, you can have some cider, and you don't have to spend a ton of money.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of it and that's one of our things is that we like to do what normal people do.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a group here in back that's playing cards. You might see them in back of...
That happens all the time,
Which is great, you know. I mean, they're hanging out, they're drinking, they're just, and now I've never actually played cards, at another location before, but I can see how that would work.
Yeah, we've always, from the beginning, we've always tried to have a very relaxed feel, right?
Yeah.
And the people sitting outside are a great example of that, right? We have people, they'll spend 3-4 hours, have a few drinks, and just hang out and relax. There's no pressure to leave. There's no pressure to buy more if you don't,
Right, no pressure to stay, no pressure to leave. It's,
right.
You're just
hang out.
Right.
It's just comfortable, play cards.
It's an extension of your patio.
Right, yeah, a lot like that, yeah.
It really is.
Yep, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then you have bands, right?
We do, yeah.
We're,
actually, I think there's
I got told that the band starts at 5.
I saw a few of them show up earlier. I don't know if they've been setting up. They might be setting up outside today.
So, they should actually. Yeah.
But we have bands every Saturday. One of my favorite things is on Sundays, we always have a community music day. So every other week, there's a bluegrass jam session, which can be 10 to 30 people coming out, and they just form up circles, a lot of times out under the big tree.
So you have like a jam session, bluegrass jam session.
Twice a month.
Under the big tree?
Under the big tree. When it's nice weather, yeah.
Oh.
And then...
Well, yeah, when it leaves out, it's going to be...
Oh, it's in the
completely
summertime,
shady.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
just drag your chair out there and listen.
Go
now,
hang out.
do they don't amplify that?
Nope, it's just
like
them
acoustic.
Acoustic.
It's like solid acoustic all the way across the board.
Yeah, and you're welcome to just hang out and listen to bluegrass music. There's a ukulele jam session that happens. There's an open mic on Sundays.
No way. Oh, open mic on Sundays.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always there's always something going on. We're always
Yeah.
trying to, have it be comfortable and ways for people to come and enjoy themselves. And
There's a lot going on here. I actually didn't realize there was that much
there's a
going
lot
on here.
There's a lot of balls in the air that get juggled.
Well, no wonder you're full time now.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That makes more sense even now.
Yeah.
But you got, so this is a really good complex. Oh, and should we mention the Christmas trees?
Oh, sure. Oh, that other thing that we do on the farm here. So
Sorry.
the Christmas tree farm is actually the original business on the farm. So
Right.
my folks purchased the property we're on now. There's sort of three sections of farm. So they purchased the middle part in '92. And prior to that, my grandfather had grown Christmas trees
Right.
as a retirement project in the '70s, and he did that in Conowingo, Maryland. And then in the mid '90s, we started planting Christmas trees here.
Okay.
And then started selling them, and so that's been the main economic engine of the farm for a long time.
Which is actually not a bad engine.
No, it's not. Yeah, it takes takes about 8 years to grow a Christmas tree. So
To get started, yeah.
the first 8 years you don't make a dime.
You're dying. You're dying. Putting so much money
That's
into
right.
this.
That's right. You just keep dumping money and work and time into it, and then on the other side of that, you make some money. But
Then it starts coming in. for
yeah,
sure,
yeah. So the Christmas trees have always been a part of the farm. It's a great growing up. Our Christmas tradition was always working on the farm, selling Christmas trees, and I always
that's
loved
cool.
it.
That
always
is so
such a
cool, yeah.
You get to see all the families coming out and picking a tree, and we do choose and cut. So they get a saw and they get
Yeah.
out into the field and pick
Walk
their own
out there
tree.
and drag your tree back.
Yeah, they do all the work.
But people love that.
Yeah, it's
people love that.
And the great thing, the cider business and the food trucks and the Christmas trees all work together really well that time of year,
Right.
because people want to make a day of it. They want to come out and
It's an event.
It's an event, right?
It's an
you
event,
spend you
yeah.
spend a day, you get a cider, you get a meal,
Yeah.
you get a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
My mom makes wreaths, so we try to.
Does
we've
she
done it for a
use
long
the
time.
pruning things for the
Uh-huh.
for the what do you call it?
The wreaths?
Wreaths?
Yeah, she uses the same pruner she uses on the apple trees.
There
Think
you
of the
go, there you go.
savings. You
Oh,
save
not the
money
same
by-
ends though. They're not apple pruning.
No, it's not apple
Yeah,
pruning.
no.
Yeah, same tool she uses.
Yeah.
But so the Christmas trees have always been a part of the farm, and
Yeah, they've been here for years, decades.
has,
Yeah,
yes.
I've seen.
Yep,
I've,
it's been a long
I've passed
time.
by through here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So yeah, I thought I'd just throw that out there as a last minute scenario. Do you have anything else you think we should highlight here?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like we just went over a bunch of it. Yeah,
we
have-
did.
there's-
But we went. It's a really high level.
Yeah.
We didn't get into too much detail.
Yeah.
But we did cover a lot.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, there's always, like we said earlier, there's always something going on, live music or trivia or bingo or something going on. I think if you're really interested in hard cider and a quality, small batch varietal product, this is a great thing to come try. If you just want to come out and relax and have a pint of something sweet or a beer or whatever, it's great for that too. You can just hang out and enjoy yourself.
And I will tell you, I liked all four of those. You don't always, right?
Sure.
And like anything, I have a preference as to which one I like the best.
Sure.
But I liked all four. I'm like, if somebody sat one in front of me, I wouldn't
say no to it.
Exactly. So that's pretty good, and and it went really well with the
barbecue was great.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
So this has been a really good event that we've had.
Good.
Appreciate your allowing us to descend on your and. Well, it doesn't look like there's a line now. So
the line died
we could
down.
probably talk for another 3 hours. But no, I'm sure there'll be a wave coming in.
As the band, right before the band starts up, is usually when it starts to get really
because they
really
got to get their
busy.
drink before the band
That's
starts
right.
to play. Yeah.
That's right.
So, all right, and nothing else. We're good.
I think so. I appreciate it.
Hey, everybody! Thanks for joining us. We are Tipsy Tagalongs. Evan from Old Stone Cider here, Gary Moore from Journey More Often. We're just having a blast, talking about things, and hey, review it, because I'm sure you missed something along the way, that there's little details that you need to know. But don't forget, we'll be at Blondes and Brunettes on April 6th. So that'll start at 2:30. We're going to go back to our 2:30 frame. But hey, it's been great. Thanks for everything. Enjoy life. Journey more often.